Warning.
Hello? Oh, hello, hi.
Warning.
Okay.
This is We Are Starting a Cult, obviously. Hello.
No, it is true. Hey.
That's Jake over there.
It's me, Jake, and that's Grant.
Yep.
Mitch is here in the room.
I am throwing out a verbal warning immediately for this episode, mostly for two big reasons, okay? First and foremost, this is a very different episode than I'd say anything we've covered in the past. Sort of related to things we do, but it's got a lot more actual visual things to go on.
It's got everything you're looking for.
As well as this is a very, I would argue, hot-button topic for many different reasons, including, government affiliation, gun laws, things like that. So this is, if there's any episode we've ever done that will ruffle your feathers on a more personal level, it'll probably be this one.
Yeah, more than likely.
But fuck you if you don't like it.
Yeah,
so anyways,
fucking shut it off and fuck yourself.
yeah, move
How
on
about
with your
that?
fucking life and go do something. That's
Just
what we're doing.
figure it out on your own time.
Anyways, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. And before we go any farther into this crazy, weird episode we're doing, I'd like to shout out a fan.
Oh, do it.
Fan by name. It's
Bust it down.
Shawnee Stott.
Shawnee? Like Pawnee, the place from Parks and Rec?
Yeah, exactly. That fake town. She's just like that fake town.
Okay.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's always sending us good, nice words of encouragement, maybe some suggestions. She's just very nice. She is truly in the upper echelons.
Yes, thank
All right?
you. We
thank you, Shawnee.
it. We get like a very, very small fan base of people that like to interact with us, and we're very grateful for you guys because it's just nice.
Yeah,
it's
talk to us. I'll say your name.
It's very heartfelt. It's very sweet. Well, I don't want to fuck up. I'm going to pull it up right now. We have another one, too. More of a regular. Was that on Instagram or was that Twitter?
That's also Instagram. Again, Instagram is the best place you can probably find us.
Okay, I was going to say, because I know we get... I don't know.
I just now logged into the Twitter account because we were locked out of it for so long, and I tweeted, and nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to stick with Instagram. But Twitter's still there.
Yeah, Twitter's still present for you guys. Yeah. Shawnee, we definitely appreciate it. Or Shanny, I don't want to say
It's
her
Shawnee,
name
dude. She put the exact pronunciation after I asked if I could shout her out.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Shawnee.
We definitely appreciate it and love it. We also have, I'm going to fuck this up because I don't think I confirmed the details of this name.
Okay.
Remotely at all. But it's a long time fan, going back to last year. Allison, last name that I won't say for private reasons.
Yeah, we didn't ask her, but Allison, you know who you are.
Yeah, so we get some messages. You know who I haven't heard from in a while?
Schmo? Mr. Schmo?
Joe fucking Schmo, dude. Joe, if you're out there, how you doing, buddy? I'm just worried about like day-to-day life. I'm hoping you're doing well.
Dude, he wanted to send us something, and we didn't have a P.O. box. And we looked into that, but then we just never followed through. And the same thing happened with Shawnee. She wants to send us something, so maybe we'll have to get a P.O. box.
Yeah, we're going to have to.
At some point soon.
I didn't think we'd ever get to a point where people would want to like willingly send us things.
People like us, dude. It's fucking crazy.
But yeah, you guys are great, Mr. Schmo or Mrs. Schmo. I don't know.
Schmoman, yeah.
Schmo. Definitely let me know that you're alive and you're doing all right if you still listen to the show because we miss you. We miss you, buddy.
Also, Gabriel, if you still listen.
Yeah, dude.
Let us know, dude. Gabriel helped us out with the Bob Berdella episode. Yeah, a lot of the research there.
He was a good guy. We enjoyed your company. It was
fantastic individual, all these folks.
And I don't want to not include other fans because sometimes I just don't remember names.
These are just off the top of our heads.
Yeah, exactly. But
talk to us. We'll mention
if we forgot you, yell at us via DM, and we will correct the mistake.
Yeah.
We will do that, because we appreciate you guys.
It's truer than anything has ever been.
But yeah, so we are going to be talking about the events of the Las Vegas shooting at the Route 91 Harvest Festival.
Yeah. Most recent thing I think we've ever talked about.
Yeah,
2017, man. Fucking 5 years ago.
Probably. And I'm going to go ahead and say this now. I'll get into it after we kind of go over the events. I'll go over like my sources and where I'll link all that stuff later. But I do want to say this. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with this. If you're listening to this show, chances are you were at least alive long enough to be made aware of what happened on that day and like the events of that day.
Yeah.
I am going to go ahead and say this right now. Unless you are a Las Vegas shooting researcher, which I'm not confident that our fans truly are, because I feel like we would have been told about this a while ago.
Or they just want to make it completely anonymous and not even risk sending that through the email to startacult@gmail.com, where you can totally send that stuff.
True. I'm going to say this. This is one of those episodes. If we've ever had an episode that will be or has been flagged or will be removed from platforms, it's going to be this one. So if you get this one, definitely download it so you have it for good.
Download it, copy it, put it on a floppy disk.
If it gets deleted or taken down, I save all the files so I have it, and I will just keep putting this bitch up until it stays.
Yeah, we're not necessarily breaking any new ground, so that might not happen, but who fucking knows? Because a lot of weird shit is going on with the internet and this story specifically.
But yeah, so why don't we just get into it?
Yeah, so I'm going to go through just a basic outline of what happened, the guy who supposedly did it, and then we're going to take it from there, all right? So, all right, the Las Vegas shooting. The infamous Las Vegas shooting of 2017 remains the deadliest mass shooting in the United States history committed by a single individual. Whether it really was a single individual, it's kind of up in the air. We'll talk about that later.
It wasn't.
We'll talk about that later, yeah. I also don't think it was. 64-year-old Stephen Paddock, using a mini arsenal he'd acquired, murdered 60 people and injured 411. And the panic that ensued brought that injury count up to 867. That's a lot of fucking people. That's so many people. Can you imagine that many people in a room and then all of them are either dead or injured?
No, I can't.
You've never been in that room?
No.
You've never been in a room like that? We spend our weekends differently. This is a unique episode in a way, right? Because we've never really covered a mass shooter, but like with other true crime episodes, I'm going to start with the life of Mr. Paddock. All right, at least what I could find, and go from there.
Yeah, it's not super descriptive. There's not a lot about
No, there's not a lot.
He's kind of just like an average guy, you know?
Yeah, in a way. He's got some quirks, though.
Don't we all? We all got a little something.
We're all a little just so stupid weird, you know? Stephen Craig Paddock. He was born on April 9th of 1953 to Benjamin Paddock and Dolores Hudson in Clinton, Iowa. All right, so he's an Iowan.
Iowan.
He's an island. So he was the oldest of four brothers, and the family, for the most of Paddock's childhood, lived in Tucson, Arizona, and then later in Sun Valley neighborhood of Los Angeles, California. His father, Benjamin, wasn't around for much of his life, however, because when Stephen was 7, in 1960, his father was arrested for robbing banks. A little heister there. He went to prison, right? It makes sense. That's just what happens. Only to escape in 1969, landing him a spot on the FBI's most wanted list.
Okay.
So this guy's dad was a federal criminal. This being said, Stephen basically grew up as the oldest son of a single mother. All right, so we all know people like that, single mothers.
Yeah, we do. They're very present.
They're all around. They're doing great. They're doing everything they can. So, fun throwback for our Hollow Earth episode. Stephen Paddock went to Richard E. Byrd Middle School.
How fun!
Isn't that fun? Maybe he's just going into the earth there.
Yeah, who would have thought that, huh?
I audibly gasped alone when I saw this. So he then went on to John H. Francis Polytechnic, high school, and he graduated in 1971, and then he went to California State University, where he earned a degree in business administration in 1977.
Okay, all right.
Somewhat during his college career and for a year afterward, Paddock worked as a mailman for the U.S. Postal Service.
Nice. Represent.
A job classically, associated with people going insane.
Newman.
Yeah, right. So in 1978, he went on to work for the IRS, those people that take our money, as an agent until 1984.
Okay.
Right? And after which he worked as a defense contract audit agency auditor for 1 year before working as an international auditor for a company later merging with Lockheed Martin for 3 years.
Yep, that's a big one.
So a lot of key players here.
A lot of strange connections here.
Yeah, the IRS, dude. Fucking Howard, did you do your taxes yet?
Yeah.
How's the return? Is it positive? Is it a good amount?
It's extremely positive.
Good Lord, I owed the government a single dollar.
See, that's the perks.
Single fucking dollar.
That's the perks of not making a lot of money, is that once a year they give me a nice check.
Well, I get tips on my paycheck, so I think that's what fucked me.
Yeah, that happens.
It was my return, and then what I owed, it was $1. It was. You imagine if I went to jail for not giving them $1?
I heard that's what happened to MC Hammer. They took everything from him.
Who knows? It was the state that I owed, the federal that I got the return, bitch. Yeah. There's nothing. Okay. Yeah. So I owed him $1. I sent it to him. It was hilarious. Anyway, where was I? IRS, Lockheed Martin. So, fucking, as one could surmise from these jobs, Paddock did pretty well for himself, right? And he owned multiple houses in San Fernando Valley area of California.
San Fernando
Valley. As well as 2 apartment buildings in Hawthorne, California, and an apartment complex in Mesquite, Texas. So he had a lot of property. He's investing his money well. Seems like he's rich. From one of his apartment complexes alone, he earned an annual income of roughly $500,000 a year.
Okay.
So he's swimming in it. All right. He later went on to sell that complex for $6 million profits. $6 million profit.
Wow.
All right. So he had a good hunk of change at any given point in his life, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else about this guy? He was married twice.
Good for him.
Yeah, he ended up getting divorced from both of them, but he stayed in good terms with them. You know, a nice even keel separation. But he lived all around the South in the 2000s, right? Texas to California, to a retirement community in Melbourne, Florida. Eventually to a retirement home in Mesquite, Nevada, not Mesquite, Texas, like I mentioned earlier. A lot of mesquites.
I like mesquite chicken. That's always good.
I've never had that. What is it?
Oh, it's just seasoned. I don't know. They say it's like a Texas
seasoning
thing. I don't fucking know what it is, but it's good. I like it.
I want to try it. If you have any mesquite seasoning out there, send it to our P.O. box we don't have yet.
Yeah, let us know how to
email us
use
about that. Maybe it'll kick us into gear. I want that chicken. And he moved to Nevada. That was the retirement home. He ended up in Mesquite, Nevada, and moving there was definitely like a strategic move for his hobbies. Because this guy played video poker like it was his fucking job.
Yeah, he was a big gambler.
It was insane. Like, he would literally dump over $500,000 into a machine in one night. A lot of the time just to get the perks of the casino that go along with spending that much money, like free rooms, free food, like privileges, like that.
Hey, that's genius. You get some good shit from there.
But it costs like $500,000. It's fucking crazy. All right, so, and he could afford it, as we said earlier, like he's got a shit ton of money.
Okay.
And he and his girlfriend, they would go on lavish trips and cruises almost constantly, all around the world. Paddock even had his pilot's license and owned 2 small planes. So this guy was like living large. He did very well for himself.
Yeah, this guy was...
Until the thing we're talking about.
As the kids say, he was swimming in dough. Those are probably the kids from like the fucking 60s.
It's like a very vivid, not memories, but just visions of like a pizzeria.
Yeah, like...
just like that's how you do it. You got to put the little finger holes in it, Are
you talking about like pizza or like...
Oh, I'm talking about pizza.
Okay.
You don't like pizza dough?
I mean, I like it when it's fucking done and there's shit on it for me.
No, you got to eat it when it's like taffy.
Like raw, when it's just fucking flour and like some fucking water?
Yeah.
No.
No, yeah, it's taffy dough.
No. Get that out of here.
Dip it in marinara? Come on.
Get out of my fucking face.
Yeah, fuck you. All right, so here, what else we got? He owned 2 small planes. So this guy was ultimately a success his whole life and was spending his retirement living it up, but much Like most self-made rich men, he was not without his quirks, all right? He was an avid atheist and would blame bad things that would happen on his Catholic girlfriend's beliefs.
That dumb Catholic woman.
So he's an atheist, but he believes the fact that his girlfriend is a Catholic, some sort of power is causing bad things to happen. Some sort of maybe higher power. Anyway, he didn't associate with any political party, at least out loud. But there were some times when he was heard speaking of his distaste for the government. Right.
Okay.
He was an avid believer that Waco and Ruby Ridge were travesties, to the citizens involved, which is true. Voicing his hatred to meddling government involvement. He was also overheard more than once, I guess, stating that Hurricane Katrina, that disaster, acted as a dry run for the government to bust indoors and take guns from the citizens.
Oh, okay.
So he's got some wild ideas that might not be too far-fetched. So who knows? He's just a rich guy who's thinking. All right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. In his last months leading up to the shooting, Paddock was drinking heavily day in and day out. He was pouring it all on top of Valium. So he, this paired with his high-rolling gambling lifestyle made for some bouts of depression and overall despondence.
Yeah, okay.
So he was kind of just like a walking corpse of a man. All right. So in the year leading up to the shooting, all right, so from October 2016 to late September of 2017, Paddock was doing a little shopping. All right, he's shopping around. In that time, he purchased roughly 55 firearms.
Oh, okay.
It's like so. That's almost one for every week of the year. Almost all of them rifles, okay? And this was on top of the 29 firearms that he had already had that mostly consisted of shotguns and handguns. So he had a lot of fucking guns. Many of the 55 new rifles were equipped with bump stocks, an accessory for rifles that modify them to act as automatic.
Yes, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit later.
Thing for later. Yeah.
We will certainly get into that. So if you're, no matter how you feel about guns, be ready for some gun talk in this.
Yeah, we're going to talk about guns. I don't know anything about guns. I'm relying on you for that, Grant.
Yeah, I've taught myself a little bit. I've picked up some knowledge over the years from like Georgie and other gun enthusiasts that I know. Believe it or not, like where I work, people are very knowledgeable about guns as well.
Well, you kind of have to be. It's kind of a dangerous area.
So I've just picked up little things here and there, but I did do some personal YouTube research just to understand more, so I didn't sound completely naive.
Yeah.
And have somebody that's like really into guns be like, that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, no.
I still don't know what I'm talking about, but it'll be a little bit better,
Yeah, you'll be able to flex that muscle when we get to it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So after acquiring all these guns and insane amounts of ammunition, Paddock bought his Filipino girlfriend a surprise trip to her homeland.
That's
her
wonderful.
little home country. Right? It's like, go back home.
Get away from me.
Get out of here. So this was like 2 weeks before the shooting, and once she was there, Paddock wired her $100,000 and was like, "You need to buy a house. Just buy a house there, stay there, put your family in it. It's going to be amazing." So for the remaining time leading up to the day of the massacre, Paddock was drinking heavily and fucking prostitutes in Vegas.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, great, fantastic. But he wasn't just living it up like he was going to die. He was also preparing. All right? On September 25th, Paddock checked into the Mandalay Bay Hotel and requested a room that would overlook the Route 91 Harvest Festival a week from then.
Yes, sir.
Specifically. He was then seen bringing 10 shooting range bags into his room along with a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? A few days later, on September 29th, Paddock moved into the additional suite connected to his room. So he had 2 rooms now.
Busted that open.
Okay, busted right open. Okay, so October 1st, 2017. We're about to get into it, okay? October 1st, 2017, the Harvest Music Festival is going on Route 91 just below Paddock's room. Okay? It's nighttime. it seems like it would be a fun time regardless of your music taste. Who knows?
Yes, I want to paint a quick picture here just for those to visualize what we're seeing. So if you're looking at a map, I want you to, we'll post this picture online as well because I have it. But if you're looking at a map, in the center of the map would be the concert venue, like the roped off area for the
strip,
show.
yeah.
So that would be that. Just to the north of that would be the road that the strip is on, was at Las Vegas Avenue. So that's the strip. Below that is you're off the strip. And then right to the right, like kind of the bottom right corner of that map and the bottom right corner of the venue is where Mandalay Bay Casino is, directly outside of the venue's fence. Yeah. So it's kind of tucked away in the corner of that map overlooking the venue.
Okay. Cool.
Just a visual for you.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's useful. And again, I just want to reiterate before I go on that this is the story that's the official story that you can easily find online.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to pick it apart a little later. Paddock has set up a baby monitor camera on the dirty room service cart outside of his room, all right, so as to have an eye, right outside of his door. He then screwed the door shut. And at 9:59, hotel security guard Jesus Campos comes to the room for an unrelated reason and finds the door to be screwed shut. And he's like, well, that's not supposed to be like that. We have locks.
Wait a minute.
We have locks for this. You don't need to vandalize our door. So Paddock sees this on the hidden camera, shoots through the door, and he clips Campos in the leg.
Right.
He's shot a man in the leg. So Paddock then supposedly used a hammer to break out the windows in his room. After doing so at 10:05 p.m., he begins firing down into the enormous crowd of people. All right, it starts off with single shots and then quickly switches to rapid firing and short, frequent bursts.
Yes.
This gunfire lasts for a full 10 minutes. Endless gunfire. Okay? Mm-hmm. Before ceasing. Paddock had fired over 1,000 rounds, about 35 of which he shot through the door of the hotel room.
Yeah, so he did pivot just a little bit, just to get some shots off the other way.
Yeah, he's like, make sure I don't get stopped.
The majority were aiming downwards, roughly 30 floors?
Yeah. Into
a crowd of at least one source said about 9,000 to 10,000 people.
Yeah, but actually exactly 3.5% of the bullets went through his door. Everything else went out the window.
There you go.
All right, so he took the lives of 60 people that day. All right, and he injured 867 before turning one of the many guns on himself, shooting himself in the mouth.
Yeah, which the important distinction here is that the gun that was used to kill himself was a
38 Smith & Wesson.
A 38 Smith & Wesson handgun. This will come into play later, so that he turned that on himself. It's believed that he, if you want the visual, he put it in his mouth, aimed upwards to the roof of his mouth, like they tell you not to do, and pulled the trigger.
Yeah, he washed his mouth out with a revolver.
Yeah, and it was with a 38, so that will annihilate you. You're done.
No, very much so. Too loud, too. So loud, those guns.
Oh, God,
I shot
absolutely.
Georgie's. Immediately I went, just no hearing at all.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy.
I should have had earplugs in at that time.
Yeah, how funny. That's like exactly what Georgie's first gun was.
Yeah, 38 Special, yeah.
Don't quote me if it was a Smith & Wesson. I'm sure he'll tell me.
Same caliber.
But yeah, it was a revolver, handheld, small, snub-nosed pistol.
That was so fucking loud. Mm-hmm. All right, well, anyway, it took over an hour for police and SWAT to clear the 32nd floor of the hotel of the other civilians, right? So after they did, at 11:20, an hour and 5 minutes later, police breached the door of Paddock's room, which is room 32135.
Yeah.
All right. So using explosives, they just put some explosives up there. They're like, we're coming in. And after which, they discovered his dead body and a slew of guns littered everywhere. The responding officers claimed that they were literally tripping over guns. Mm-hmm. All right, so there was supposedly 14 AR-15s, 8 AR-10s, 1 Ruger bolt-action, and a 38 revolver.
All right.
That's a lot of fucking guns, all right?
Yeah.
He had multiple high-capacity magazines with some rifles. Some rifles had bipods, all right? And all of the 14 AR-15s were equipped with bump stocks.
Yes, they were.
Bump stocks again. So, also in the room were a few interesting things. All right, so scribbled calculations in an attempt to make his shooting more accurate. Just like he's trying to figure out the physics. He was looking at the length of like a certain point outside of his window, and he's like trying to do what's it called, the
like the wind test,
the hypotenuse of that.
Yeah, and then like the old movie was that Enemy at the Gates.
Oh,
they
yeah.
lick their finger and like hold up the like wind trajectory. We're gonna.
It's like
do
I
the
know
angles.
exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So he had a bunch of scribbles. He had multiple cell phones, multiple laptops, and it's said that child porn was found on one of these laptops' hard drives. And it's also claimed that some of the laptops didn't have hard drives. So who fucking knows?
I know we're waiting. I have to jump in here.
No, yeah, there was.
Thing.
I don't think there was child porn. It's kind of like the Franklin cover-up. It's like the Dave Chappelle, like sprinkle a little crack on it. It's like this is the government's version of that. It's just child porn.
We were talking about this earlier. It's quite literally exactly what they did to the private investigator's plane when it crashed in that field during the Franklin cover-up scandal.
Yeah.
Where they found literal picture, like Polaroid pictures of child pornography. Even though he was in an airplane, his private airplane with his 10-year-old son, I don't think he just had Polaroids stashed
They
in
were
the
everywhere.
carry-on.
It was like thousands of photographs.
And this is, again, it's just another way to kind of bite away at the character of Stephen Paddock.
Well, yeah, because
before
like
we know the actual story.
People who are into child porn, there's no coming back from that.
Right.
There's no like retribution for you. All right, so yeah, there's a little porn in there, so they say. Let's see what else. Yeah, the laptops didn't have hard drives. Some of them didn't have hard drives. Isn't that so weird? Either way, the content of these hard drives has been kept from the public to this day.
Yeah.
And a weird thing about these cell phones, all right, so in Paddock's room, a very specific type of cell phone charger was found. And it was not compatible with any of the cell phones recovered from the scene. And it was actually meant for a very specific type of cell phone used almost exclusively by those in the intelligence community of the government.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that fucking just weird?
Just a little bit.
So strange. On top of these things discovered in the room, ammonium nitrate, often used for makeshift bombs, was found in the trunk of his car, along with 1,600 additional rounds and 50 pounds of tannerite, which is often used for explosive targets at gun ranges.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much the fucking story that we're all fed about this.
Yeah, so we're going to get into some weird shit here. This is where...
There's a lot.
This is where feathers may be ruffled, so prepare yourselves for this. Because here... Before we get into it, I want to visually explain to you what we're dealing with. So, going back to my map analogy, the Las Vegas Strip is a 4-mile strip of road that goes north to south or south to north, either way.
Yeah, it depends on which way you're going.
Yeah, when you're looking at it from a map, that like the above view map, that's what we're talking here. So, on one corner of the map, and that is the southern corner, is Mandalay Bay. That's the last resort that is technically considered like the Strip. Immediately next to it, you have the Delano, and then you have the Four Seasons. So, like, I guess you could say those are on the Strip, but those are within spitting distance of the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. You know, the stereotypical sign.
Yeah, the classic, iconic thing.
So then we're going to go all the way back up to the north end, okay? So the north end is where sort of like the bigger things are, like the more notable ones, I should say. Like Circus is up there, Sahara, Treasure Island. Then you start getting a little bit more like center north of the map, and that's where like the Mirage, Caesar's Palace, the Flamingo. So we're talking a good chunk of walking distance to get to different locations.
Yeah, I'd say.
So keep in mind that for this purpose, Mandalay Bay, where the events of the day are happening, are on the extreme far end of the Strip, pretty much away from the majority of the rest of the Strip. And for those of you that haven't been to Vegas, I think it's very imperative to understand this.
That would be me. I'm the only one in this room.
There are sidewalks, obviously, so you can walk down the whole Strip. But as far as crosswalks go, there's so many people in Vegas that they don't have typical crosswalks like you would see, in downtown Chicago, New York.
Yeah, jaywalking is pretty much encouraged there, so I hear.
No, well, it is, but it's also like the way it's done, everything is walking bridges. So if there's like a main intersection that you need to cross, you would take the escalator or the elevator up to the platform, walk across the bridge, and then back down. So just keep that in mind. As far as navigating on foot the entire Las Vegas Strip would take significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Especially on a packed night with a music festival. I'm sure certain like walkways were rerouted for this.
Probably.
So keep in mind that the traveling through the casinos it's very difficult. Now there are some casinos that are connected to each other, but for the purposes of walking the whole strip, they don't all connect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have a list. Of 43 provable facts about this case that do not line up with the original story. So before I begin, I want to give credit to the YouTube personality Mindy Robinson. I'm going to link the video in the description below if you'd like to check it out, because every single fact that I'm going to tell you is corroborated with either official police report footage or actual footage where you could see what we're talking about and have all of this confirmed with your own eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hard evidence, audio, visual, everything.
And so keep that in mind that I'm not just saying things that are conjecture. I will let you know when I'm saying things that are opinion or personal belief.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you said you were going to put a link to that in the thing below, right?
Yeah, there'll be a link. So if you guys want to check out the video, you can see exactly what I'm talking about with the evidence to support that as well.
Nice.
Okay, so we shall begin. Now keep in mind, right now, this is a little bit jumbled and out of order, but I will get to the timestamps later.
So is this whole case, man. Let's just do it.
So on the same night of the shooting, there's a police call that was recorded and actually uploaded. You could hear it on the video that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Stating that there were gunshots in the back parking lot of the Flamingo Casino. A citizen that was staying at the casino at the time found a gun in the parking lot and turned it into the security desk. This was while the shooting was going on at Mandalay Bay.
Found a gun.
And for those of you that don't know, like I said, Flamingo is a little bit, it's much more north of Mandalay Bay. It's sort of in the, I won't want to say dead center. It's in the north central part of the strip.
Okay.
It's not quite the dead center, but it's far enough away to where this is an unrelated event.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So on this same night, and keep in mind, this was later. This was after 11 p.m., parts of Planet Hollywood, which is right next door to Paris, which is about dead center on the strip.
Okay. So again, far away from Mandalay.
A bar, a restaurant, and parts of the casino floor were evacuated for an active shooter in the building, corroborated by video footage of people being evacuated from Planet Hollywood. The Cosmopolitan, which is a little bit more center, on one of those walkways, like I was saying, between the streets.
Yeah.
There was a man in a black hoodie with an assault rifle standing on the bridge, aiming it into the street at the Cosmopolitan.
Good fucking Lord.
Around the venue where the concert was occurring, they found multiple different caliber bullets. We're talking assault rifle, handguns, heavy caliber, kind of lower caliber. They found all different varieties of bullet casings on the ground.
Well, even the fact that they would find that nowhere near Mandalay Bay is just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. This is where things start to get a little bit weird. There was a helicopter that this is corroborated in two different ways, and I'm going to talk about this again in a minute.
Okay.
But this is confirmed by air traffic control and video footage that there were 3 helicopters that flew over the concert venue, turned off all their lights, and stalled the engines so that they were floating there silently above the venue.
Okay.
Keep in mind, what's weird about this, on air traffic control, they turned off all of their transponders 15 minutes before the shooting began.
So that would put it at 9:50.
They were not on radar. They were just hovering stealthily above the concert venue, and they would not turn their transponders on again until after 11 p.m.
Good Lord. Yeah, there were a lot of people in the crowd, survivors, that said that they heard and saw helicopters moving around during the actual shooting.
Yes. This is not typically a fact. I mean, this is a fact. There's no way to deny it. Interviews by every single person that was there on the strip that day, as well as all of the video footage of the actual shooting, proves that there were bullets coming from all different directions. And I will say this. People try to debunk this statement by saying it is the echo or ricochet of the bullets coming from Mandalay Bay. It's simply impossible because you can tell the difference between the bullets because in the footage, the assault rifle used at Mandalay Bay is constant. It's a constant bum, 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 bum. It's constant.
Yeah,
it's
again,
going.
the bump stocks making semi-auto pretty much automatic.
Yeah, so it's firing at a very rapid, consistent rate. And the other bullets are firing at a much louder sound and a different rate of fire coming from a completely opposite direction.
And there's echoes from each of these.
Yes.
Coming back, like you can tell.
Yeah. So there are gun shots, no matter what they're from, they're coming from different directions from different weapons. Now here's where we get a little bit interesting.
A little bit more interesting.
Okay? 10 plus victims, there's no official report on the victims themselves, were killed by dead center between the eyes headshots coming from a completely flat horizontal angle with no vertical inclination.
Good fucking Lord.
They claim that this is ricochet. However,
it's impossible.
the fact that it happened to more than one or two individuals is astronomically improbable.
Yeah, I know this is a lot of people, but that doesn't help the odds much.
No, it doesn't. So we're talking dead center. The trajectory of the bullet would suggest that it came directly from, like, you're looking eye to eye, it came from that angle, not from somebody 30 floors above you shooting down.
Yeah.
The next day, I kind of jump around here, like I said, so bear with me.
Yeah, the timeline is, you can keep track. You're smart people.
Yeah, so the next day, employees at Planet Hollywood, every single employee that was asked, security, maintenance, gambling staff, hotel staff, every single one denied that evacuation had ever happened, despite, as I said earlier, video footage and official police reports stating that there was an active shooter occurring in Planet Hollywood. But not a single employee on the next day openly admitted that that happened. They all said that was a lie. Outside of the events of Vegas, by the next day, by the next morning, we're talking 7 a.m.,
Okay.
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube took down every single post stating that there could be multiple shooters. And this includes private people, so everyday people that just put, I think there was 2 shooters,
Yeah.
taken down, and news outlets and interviews with people that stated they saw 2 shooters were immediately scrubbed.
Yeah, so there were news outlets that did cover stories and did report on them that kind of corroborated this. Like, there's more than one person.
Yes, so that was all scrubbed. The internet took it.
Yeah.
Now, this is something, I'm going to post this on Instagram tonight after this recording is done. I'm probably going to, I don't really know how to do that because it's not going to be the first picture because it is the death photo of Stephen Paddock.
Yeah, you can't put that as the first one or else Instagram will, like, fuck up your algorithm. So just start scrolling if you see a post from us.
Yeah, so the death photo of Stephen Paddock was released almost immediately after these events. Almost too quick. That's beside the point.
It's real bloody.
And the official death report of Stephen Paddock has him declared dead at noon the next day.
Yeah.
That's when the report says he died. However, the death photo was released the night of the shooting.
That is true. Also, the official, like, the cops that were responding, like the first ones in the room, they saw Paddock on the ground, and they never went over to check his vitals. Mm-hmm. They never went to make sure that he was dead.
No, they just assumed.
Yeah.
So, and also what I want to talk about here, you'll see in the picture that I post what I'm talking about, but the photo of his face, it shows that the blood is draining from his mouth up. So, like, his mouth, nose, and eyes, and he's leaning back, so it's falling upwards, so it's kind of covering his head.
His chin is immaculately clean.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's laying down, and there is a large pile of dried blood. And on top of that large pile of dried blood, there is a slightly smaller pile of very fresh, wet, gooey blood.
It's kind of like going in a different direction than the other one.
Yeah. So we're talking...
Like, you'll see it tonight.
We're talking two separate things. As well as the fact, I'll post this picture as well, he had a wound or blood stains on his chest, and while he was laying down, the rifle that was believed to be used in the shooting was across his foot. So I don't know how that would have happened, but it's laying across his leg.
Yeah.
So that's raised some questions. But the gun that was used for the suicide, the .38, different reports, some say it's anywhere between 4 and 10 feet away from the body. It's above his head, almost out of the picture, and his hands are nowhere near there.
It's real far away. I know those things got kicked. I shot one, it made me deaf, but it's not supposed to be there. It could not have gotten that far away from him in that direction, especially if it's aimed the opposite way, going up into his head. Like, the kickback would have been completely different.
Yeah, you think the kickback, if you're holding a gun...
Unless he shot himself in the roof of the mouth, did a little twirl.
Yeah, like, if you're holding a gun in your mouth, even if you're laying down, let's say for this purpose he's laying down, or sitting somewhere close to the ground, and he's shooting up, the blood would make sense. The blood would splatter out and up, not down. So the wound or blood on his chest doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
And the fact that when he would fall, the kickback would push the gun into his mouth, and it wouldn't fly above him. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't make sense.
I don't think so.
Anyways, the death photo leads to a lot of weird shit. Now this is where I was officially hooked in. Private investigators took sound isolation clips from different videos that came in, and they used official news clips, they used police body cam footage, and they used private people, the videos submitted to them.
Yeah.
And they isolated the gunshots, and they were able to... This was from different people. This wasn't just like one particular guy or woman. This was a group effort with multiple different companies corroborating this information.
Yeah.
That the sound isolation proves that there was more than one gun and more than one caliber being fired at the same time.
Yeah, and if that's not proof enough, there's the fucking casings everywhere.
Yeah. So we're going back. I have the timestamp now for the helicopters. So at 9:52 p.m., the 3 helicopters' transponders are shut off, making them invisible to radar. And they hover there, and their transponders are not turned on until 10:53.
This is 7 minutes until the supposed first shot is fired through the door.
Yeah. Okay, so Stephen Paddock. The room records prove that he was not the only person that had his name on the room.
Interesting.
There were 3 female companions that were registered to his room and all had keys separately. There were 4 keys floating around for his room.
The old prosties.
However, their names were redacted from the casino's report book as well as official records. So Stephen Paddock did have 3 women that had access to his room at any time, and their name was at the front desk as being a part of the room. Okay?
Interesting. Did not know that.
Like we said before, no official ballistic reports were ever released by the FBI, but there were certain snippets that came out that, people were able to gather and kind of do their own research on.
Yeah.
And so they go back and they see that 19 victims in total were hit with bullets from impossible angles, either horizontally, like we said earlier, or in some cases there were vertical shots that were completely vertical, almost suggesting that the bullet went from the top of the head down through the jaw, or vice versa, went through the jaw up through the top of the head.
Good fucking Lord.
And I understand that vertical makes more sense than horizontal based on where he was.
But perfect angles, that does not.
Right. Perfect angles do not make sense. And we're talking straight up and down. So 19 victims in total that were killed were hit with what would be suggested, as far as human knowledge goes, as completely impossible angles to hit from where he was at.
It sounds like it would just be a fucking gun pressed right up against underneath your chin. Like point blank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what it sounds like to me, at least. I don't know.
So, this is interesting. This is a factual thing, but it can lead to some conjecture. Just in case we veer off for a moment, I want you to know that. Stephen Paddock legally owned 19 guns registered to his name.
Okay.
But on that night, 23 guns were illegally purchased and stored in his room for that very evening. Not a single gun that he legally owned was in that room.
Interesting.
Which begs the question, now this is where the conjecture begins on this comment, which begs the question of, if you are a legal gun owner, especially someone that has knowledge of weapons, don't you think you would prefer to use your customized weapons that are made to your specificities and you're used to handling, especially if you plan on killing yourself after, because it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They know who you are. You're going to be fucking dead.
Especially if the ones that are in your room have bump stocks and like bipods on them. Like those two things on a single gun don't make sense.
Right.
There's no use for one and the other.
Yeah. So I want to talk about bump stocks for a moment. I know this has been a big issue as of not so far now, but lately, I should say.
Yeah, I mean they're gone now because of this.
And yeah, we're gonna come back to this near the end of the episode. But for those of you that don't know, and I didn't know, I had to do some research. I watched some videos on bump stocks. Essentially, what it is it's a stock attachment that goes onto the butt of the gun. So when you sit with the gun, and you know the bump stock would lay in your shoulder, right, like where you would hold it.
Yeah.
You pull the trigger, and the bump stock, the recoil pushes the gun back into your shoulder, and the bump stock catches that recoil on your shoulder and forces the gun back forward, so you don't have to tap the trigger. You leave your finger in one spot, and the bump stock will eat the recoil that pushes back and force the gun back forward so that it keeps rapid firing.
Yeah.
So essentially, like we said earlier, it can turn a semi-automatic into what would... It's technically not an automatic weapon.
It allows it to act as an automatic weapon.
For video gamers out there, it gives you a really good trigger finger. You know, like for video games.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever played Call of Duty and someone's using like a single shot gun and they can just tap that button super fast, that's essentially the equivalent to a bump stock in real life.
Yeah.
It eats that recoil and it shoots it back, so it makes it easier to fire.
Notoriously difficult thing to control, even to like gun experts.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it is very difficult to control a gun with a bump stock.
From my research into the bump stock universe, it turns out that pretty much anybody worth their salt in the world of guns and training and handling guns, they do not use bump stocks. They don't like them because they are notoriously inaccurate.
Yeah, bullets are expensive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear.
And the reasoning is this. Again, a video game is an easy comparison just because it's something I think a lot of people see. But again, I hate to use this example because I know it kind of isolates people. But if you are familiar with any type of shooter video game, the more you hold down the trigger on an automatic weapon, the more inaccurate you become.
And that's based on real life. They want to make it as realistic as possible.
Yeah, because every gun, no matter what it is, has some form of recoil or kickback, whatever you want to call it. And if the more you tap that trigger, the more unstable your hand becomes, and the more the gun moves, causing you to shoot off target.
Yeah, it's actually like a common problem in gun accidents and just like shooting ranges. If they're using a fully automatic weapon and they start to lose control, some people panic and grip the gun tighter, but in the process grip the trigger.
Yeah.
So they're just out of control with a gun that's going off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very real thing. And experts will tell you that bump stocks are not recommended in almost any circumstance. And the reason I keep talking about this bump stock is because, again, picture this. You're in a window aiming down. So this bump stock adds length to the butt of the gun.
Yeah.
So there's extra length that you have to make up for and put your arm into.
So you have to adjust your entire shooting method.
Exactly. You have to completely alter how you're going to aim. Not only that, but you have to aim down. So what that means is you have to put the gun out the window and aim it down to street level. So what you'd have to do with that is you would have to lift your shoulder up higher to reach the bump stock in order for it to successfully work. But realistically, and just physics, this is just human nature physics, if you're aiming the gun down with a bump stock, every time that trigger pulls, the gun is going to lean up because you keep pushing into it. It won't go down, it will go up as far as kickback goes.
Yeah.
The nozzle of the gun, I don't know if that's the term, the nozzle, the bullet hole of the gun.
Where the bullet comes out goes,
the bullet garage.
Screams out of there. The
Yeah,
barrel.
the barrel. Thank you for that.
Mitch is our gun guy.
I sound like a fool. But
It's okay. A lot of people are going to be pissed that we know nothing about guns.
yes, but I do know this, that if you're using an attachment on a weapon that makes it so that the recoil, it doesn't kill recoil. If anything, it wants to have more recoil because it relies on that.
Things in motion want to stay in motion. You ever take physics?
So in order to accurately fire an semi-automatic weapon and turn it into an automatic with a bump stock would be almost impossible with one person.
To be accurate.
Yeah, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm simply saying that personally is something that there's zero ways to prove that is a possibility. It just isn't. So that's the bump stock talk.
Good Lord.
We're going to come back to the bump stock later.
They're illegal now.
In the conjecture part of the episode. 8 of the guns that were supposedly used that night did not have any scopes on them or any attachments. They were random. They were just regular old guns, just like you'd see on the shelf at Cabela's.
Yeah. You ever been to Cabela's? Mountain right in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's where things get really funny. Paddock's home was seized by the FBI that next day, or early morning the next day.
Yeah.
So that they could, research and try to figure out what's going on. So they found some stuff in there. They're looking around, blah, blah, blah.
I think I found like 19 more guns.
Yeah. It's funny because those were all his guns.
They were just like, okay, these are mine.
But the next day after that, the home was broken into by people unknown, and computers were stolen from the home.
Again with these fucking computers, man.
The official you guys are not gonna fucking believe this when I tell you. The official reasoning that the FBI gave that the home was broken into was because it was very windy outside that day, and somebody must have forgot to close the door all the way, so the wind kicked open the door, and then anybody could have just walked right in. Just anybody could have walked in.
Inviting robbers of like an international tragedy, like evidence house. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Someone wrote that down and put a stamp of approval on that in the fucking Pentagon.
How about that? That is the official
Lord.
reasoning.
Maybe the wind blew.
The biggest domestic terrorist in American history to that point.
Oh my god.
His house was just not locked. The door was, oh fuck, we made an oopsie.
It's like something a toddler would tell his mom if he broke a vase or something.
Yeah.
Like, the window open, it is so windy.
Yeah.
My god.
So that is the official answer, and miraculously, the stuff that was stolen was never found again.
All these fucking computers, all these hard drives, they're gone, except for the one that just so happened to have child porn.
Now, this is just interesting. It's not particularly related to the conspiracy, but I think it's an important note to mention. MGM Gaming, the company that owns a good chunk of the casinos out there on the Strip and across the world, they actually sued 1,000 of the victims for libel and defamation of character because they openly went on the news and said that there should have been more security at this event.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And thinking about it, like, I think we were talking about this earlier, like, Las Vegas is one of the most high, like, you can't fucking go anywhere without at least 5 cameras on you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the what did Mitch tell us? It's the sixth
sixth most surveyed.
Yep.
In the country.
In the entire country of the United States, it is the sixth most surveyed place in the country. Or surveyable, I don't fucking know.
They're watching, what you need to know. They're watching.
That Rockwell song, Somebody's Watching Me? He pretty much wrote that about fucking Vegas, okay?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So this is where the juice really gets juicier, okay? We've already got information that's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, we're squeezing the juice.
It just gets weirder here. A 4chan post that was published on September 10th of 2017.
Day before 9/11.
Stated that everyone needs to avoid the Las Vegas Strip and large crowds in general because the government is running what they call, quote, a high-incident project, end quote. So this is something that we're going to... This is part one of a larger series we'll be doing.
Yeah, they're all kind of loosely related. But
so next week, we'll be talking about false flag operations and things of that nature. I hope that wasn't a spoiler, but we're going to get into that.
I mean, they're going to find out. Anyway.
A very, very, very rudimentary definition for that would be something done intentionally by the government in order for change to come. So an example of that would be if you believe in the 9/11 conspiracy, that would be a false flag operation.
Yeah.
It was something that was intentionally done not to harm people, but harm was a byproduct of the larger goal of the operation.
Yeah, they knew it was going to happen, and instead of doing anything about it, they just grabbed some popcorn and just let's go in a room, watch this shit.
So for those of you, if you don't know, don't worry. Next week, we're going to give like a full-blown cover of that and the history of those and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of this, you know a little bit about that. And part of this false flag operation, the main reason behind it, according to the 4chan poster, whose name was just John.
Thanks, John.
He said, or she said, I guess, was that this was to show that places around the world that have the highest amount of security does not necessarily make it safe or somewhere that you can feel safe.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a scare tactic. He did not say that Vegas was for sure happening or give a date. All he said was that there are multiple cities on the list to be viewed as potential targets, and Vegas currently right now, according to John, is at the top of the list.
Yeah.
They're the number one spot that they're thinking of.
And again, this was like 20 days before the actual shooting occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm not positive, but on that, like you said, the other cities were mentioned. Lollapalooza in Chicago, like Stephen Paddock had a hotel room in, I think it was the Black Star Hotel?
The Blackstone.
Blackstone Hotel.
Right there on the corner.
Dude.
The one we used to go to the bathroom in.
Yeah, that had the best bathroom ever, dude. I'd shit in there more than any other place downtown. But he had like a fucking room there. He just didn't end up going.
Yeah.
It's very freaky. Very freaky, all right?
Yeah. And this is just a fun little side note for all of our fucking Snopes lovers out there.
I was going to college at that time. I could have been shot.
Yeah, fucking douchebag Snope people.
Snopes are bitches.
Snopes says that it is unknown. It is not true or false. And the reason that they give for this...
Oh, you're not sure, Snopes?
Yeah.
You're not sure for once in your fucking lives?
Snopes says that this claim from the 4chan post by John is unsure because it is simply too vague.
It's the most specific fucking thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
It's like, don't go to Vegas. The government's going to do something. A lot of people are going to die. It's going to happen at the end of the month. Like, what the fuck more do you want?
And I know I didn't sit here and, tell you every detail of it, but there's a lot more explicit detail. One that really comes to mind was that pretty much the overall message was, regardless of if it's in Vegas or New York or LA or Houston or Chicago or Florida, wherever it is, try to avoid crowds. And he signed off with, if you see 3 black SUVs or vans driving together in synchronicity, run away.
He didn't
Get away from them.
Oh, Snopes says, they didn't mention helicopters, even though that's exactly what fucking happened.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's an interesting little detail. It's just a fun little connector there.
Got me fired up about Snopes again.
Here's a new one. Another one that is corroborated, like I said, in this video, every single thing that I'm saying to you right now is corroborated with proof that you can visually look at and see that it is honest.
There is evidence. There's a link below. Go look at it.
On September 22nd of 2017, just a week and a little bit of change more than that shooting happened, every employee of the Vegas Strip was subject to an active shooter drill.
Oh, great timing.
Yep. Active shooter drills. Now we're getting into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty, okay? And then we're gonna kind of go into the timestamps here coming in.
All right.
So 45 minutes before any shots were fired, a woman pushed her way through the crowd at the 91 Harvest Festival and was telling everyone that would listen to her that they need to leave and they are going to die tonight. Going to die.
You know, I can't, for someone who's gone to a festival, I can't say that that's something that would alarm me because people are just dropping acid. They're on, like, fucking Molly and shit. I've seen way crazier things at fucking, like, fucking music festivals than a woman saying that we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a man once pass out flat on his back. Everyone was so concerned. He immediately woke up and took out his penis. It just happens sometimes.
It does. But the weird detail is that security had her removed. However, security did not interview her, did not take any information. They don't know her name. They don't have her picture. They have no details about why she was doing what she was doing. She was just removed from the premises.
Didn't give her over to authorities, nothing.
No, she was just escorted away and moved. Now, this is one that I did not know, but it's quite interesting. And in the video, I'll admit, it's a little bit boring because they talk about it for what I consider to be a little bit too long. But every door in the Mandalay Bay, and I also assume in surrounding casinos as well, every door has sensors on it. So when the doors close, the sensor lets you know that it's locked, and the deadbolt slot also has a sensor that lets you know when the deadbolt is in lock. And I think that's like for the purposes of maintenance. So it's like if they're going to go upstairs, you can ask me, like, I can't get into this room, like, what the fuck's going on? They can check the sensor and be like, oh, it's not the key, the deadbolt's locked. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's different, there's sensors for every part of the locking mechanisms on the door. But Stephen Paddock's door was heavily manipulated that night.
Yeah, a lot of screws.
Heavily, no. This is not even that.
Well, screws,
we don't
too.
Even get into that yet.
But
it was opened over 15 different times within 8 minutes. And somehow the deadbolt sensor was triggered because, according to the security desk at Mandalay Bay, the door was opened 4 times, even though the deadbolt lock was engaged. So the sensor that says the deadbolt was locked was active. The room key lock said that the door was locked, but the door was still being opened and closed.
So something's just fucky.
Yeah, something's
fucky.
But what's weird is that it triggered correctly multiple times before this. So no one knows like why it did that, but it worked fine. Like the deadbolt was unlocked, the door was unlocked, and the door opened. But then it started shifting. Once or twice it said the deadbolt was locked and the door was unlocked, but it was open. Then it said they were both locked and the door was open. And it just kept fluctuating. So there was no way to know if the door was locked or not because the sensors were all kinds of fucked up. They're out of whack.
Interesting.
All the sensors were fucked up.
And again, just the sensors on the doors and a sensor to literally tell you if a padlock is being used or a deadlock or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. One of the most highly secure, not secure, but like
the
monitored places.
Locks, yeah.
Like there's cameras everywhere. There's sensors on every single lock, and this happened.
Yep. Yeah. So there's discrepancies in the sensor mechanisms on the locks themselves. Now we're going to go off the strip a little bit. A little bit off the strip, there's a tourist attraction called Sundance Helicopters. And
that sounds like a crazy male strip club.
Right? Sundance Helicopters is a place where you can buy yourself a ticket or a group ticket to go up in a helicopter and be able to see Vegas from the sky and kind of get the whole tour. I assume they take you maybe like to the Grand Canyon, or not the Grand, the Hoover Dam, different sites, the mountains out there and shit like that. At about 10:45 p.m., Sundance Helicopters called in the police, saying that there were multiple reports of gunshots, and there was a woman that had been clipped by a bullet in their facility.
In the facility or in a helicopter?
In the facility. So,
Good
like, in their
fucking Lord.
building.
So you might be leading to this, but does that mean that, like, these helicopters were possibly hijacked?
We don't know.
Oh.
We don't know. So now, this is where I kind of talked about this earlier, the overhead view of the venue.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, dead center, you got the stage and the venue and the fucking party town. A little bit off and down to the right is Mandalay Bay, kind of clipping the corner there. So if you're looking at the venue, directly at the bottom right corner of the square that the venue is Gate 7. So that's the entry and exit way. That's Gate 7.
The 7th gate.
That is the gate that was being overlooked by Stephen Paddock in his room, okay?
Okay.
Now, discrepancies arrive here because on the official planning of the festival, Gate 7 does not exist. Gate 7 is labeled as 2A and not 7.
Gate 7, Building 7, coincidence?
Ooh, interesting. I didn't think of that. But the corroboration here is that it was difficult for security to report to it because that's where people were trying to, all the different gates were being flooded. But that was like the hot one because that was where Stephen Paddock was. That was where the automatic fire was coming.
Yeah, that's where you want to get away from.
But it was hard to get there because on the official maps and reports, Gate 7 didn't exist. So they were like, what the fuck are you talking about, Gate 7?
They're just driving around with their dicks in their hands.
So, outside of Gate 7, just below Mandalay Bay, right off the tip of the map, in the picture that I have, it's an apartment building called Oasis Apartments.
Okay.
This is off the strip, technically, but it's, regular old apartment buildings like you'd see anywhere in the world.
It's the Oasis from the strip.
Yeah. Police were called to Oasis Apartments because multiple people had seen two men in all black clothing run into the bushes, throw their clothes, and change into new clothes and leave. Miraculously, all of the cameras on the exterior of the building and Mandalay Bay did not catch any footage of this.
Oh, good Lord.
But there are official police reports that say people called in to report individuals changing outside of Oasis apartments.
Can we talk about the fact that the only footage that exists of anything in this entire story is from, like, body cams or people's cell phones that were in the crowd?
Mm-hmm.
No camera footage from anywhere in Vegas, even in the days leading up. Paddock was there for weeks. No footage of this guy.
Right.
There's nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all. So now here, we're getting to the tail end here, guys. I know you've stuck with me for a while. We're getting to the tail end here.
We're running long, and I like it.
This is where we are going to get into the official timestamps that are on police body cam footage and corroborated by reports and video.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
At 11:03 p.m., multiple calls reported a shooter on the casino floor of New York Casino, which is a few casinos down from Mandalay Bay, so not too far.
Okay.
Walkable distance.
Yeah.
5 separate calls and over 100 witnesses all reported the same thing, that there was a man on the casino floor with an automatic weapon firing into the crowd. New York security denied that it had ever happened, despite all the reports and the police actually showing up to answer those reports at New York. At 11:07 p.m., the bomb squad was called out to the Luxor Casino parking lot, which is next door to the Mandalay Bay, for a car that had exposed wires on the outside of the engine, suspicious of a bomb, followed by a bomb threat called in to the Las Vegas Police Department.
Good fucking luck. And, okay, this might be something you have the answer to. Was it Paddock's car?
It was not.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. All right, it's just interesting. Okay.
At 11:18 p.m., police respond to calls of an active shooter at the Aria Casino down the strip. At 11:19, more police respond to the Bellagio for a man with a gun shooting into the crowd on the casino floor. At 11:20, this is what Jake said earlier, Paddock's room was officially breached. In the hallway at 11:19 p.m., cops are told to cut their body cams. Cut them off. Get them off. Turn them off. No more. No more body cams.
Turn it off.
However, there were 2 individuals that left their body cams on, which play a big role in what's to come next.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, this is when CNN reported. Now, CNN, again, not to get political on you, everybody likes to have their little beef with everybody about fake news. CNN completely lied to everybody and said that there was a massive shootout between Stephen Paddock and SWAT officers, despite body cam footage and official reports saying he was dead long before they entered the room.
Dude, CNN is notorious for getting on a story quicker than anyone, and so they don't have all the information they need to make a reliable fucking story.
Yeah.
They're notorious for that. Something like that happened in the fucking D.B. Cooper episode that we did last week.
Yep.
D.B. Cooper's name isn't even D.B. Cooper. That's the first guy they interviewed. His name was Dave Cooper, and that wasn't even his name either.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
So
news
CNN
sucks.
CNN dropped the ball. Now, I don't think you guys are ready for this information, because this is where the case gets blown wide the fuck open. Ooh.
Okay, just take a little breath there.
Police officers, the two of them that have their body cams on, there's actually a couple others at this point that still have them on, and I have a feeling they just didn't, they're like tense, they didn't think about it yet. You know?
I'm pretty sure, isn't it like after you turn off a body cam, it still catches audio or something for 15 minutes? Like something like that.
But this is actually corroborated by footage. You can see the footage in the video. At 11:20, from 11:20 to 11:22, while cops are searching the room, there is not a single sign of a broken window in Stephen Paddock's hotel room. This is corroborated by no glass on the floor, the blinds being shut, and one police officer actually admitting out loud to the camera that the window is not broken and it is, in fact, quite intact. Yeah.
What?
This is on video that the window in Stephen Paddock's room was never broken. It was still closed.
Good fucking
Despite
Lord.
all the guns and the dead body in the room, the window is sealed shut. At 11:56 p.m., 36 minutes after the cops enter the room for the first time, this is when we get the first time-stamped footage of a broken window. And the footage comes from one of those helicopters that turned their transponder off. Okay?
Okay. Was the transponder back on at this point?
Yep.
Okay.
Now,
Makes
keep
sense.
in mind, now you want to get even more interesting. We're going to travel back about 20 minutes. At 11:34 p.m., the room directly below Stephen Paddock, in the same like exact angle of the hotel, but about 10 floors down, the 20th floor, directly below, like I said, Paddock's room, called the police and reported what sounded like an explosion and an immense amount of falling glass. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Now, corroboration again at 11:36. A call from the 33rd floor of the Mandalay Bay in the same area that Stephen Paddock's room is in, just 3 floors above.
Just above.
A panicked woman calls to report sounds of an explosion and what sounds like tons of glass falling.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, fuck. God damn it, police.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many kids have been busted for breaking glass in just like junkyards?
Yeah.
They're fucking blowing out windows in hotel rooms.
So, I want to stop on this for a quick moment. I only got a couple little more things here, but Stephen Paddock, the video footage of his room shows that the windows were not broken at all. As a matter of fact, they are very much closed. And within 15 minutes of police being in the room, multiple people, different sources, and we're talking 13 floors apart. So these are like completely unrelated people hearing the same thing.
Yeah.
Call in less than 90 seconds apart to report the same exact sound. And this is before we get the first footage at all of a broken window from Stephen Paddock's room.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't him. It wasn't Paddock, I don't think.
No. So the police that reported to Stephen Paddock's room and the neighboring rooms, like on that same floor,
Yeah.
as soon as they left and went back to the police station, every single one of them had to sign non-disclosure agreements.
Sounds about right.
From 11:23 p.m. to 11:56, which 11:56 is when we got the first glance at the broken window.
Makes sense.
All of the footage that was recorded from the helicopter view was redacted and not allowed to be visualized by anybody. Officially not available anywhere. It's redacted. At 11:26 p.m., The cops blasted the wall and into the adjoining room that Paddock had as well. And one of the cops in the room accidentally, air quotes, accidentally discharged his firearm 3 times into the gaping hole of the hotel room.
3 times.
3 shots.
An accidental 3 shots.
And if you don't believe anything I'm telling you, this is all on video. It's all on body cam footage. You can watch it.
And something else about the other room that was attached to Paddock's room.
Mm-hmm.
It was locked from the other side.
Yes.
He had no access to it.
Yeah.
And apparently there were that glass was also broken.
At 11:35 p.m., a man is reported walking into the Luxor bathroom with a handgun. Police respond.
Oh my God.
At 11:35 p.m., the police in Stephen Paddock's room, this is a conversation that the 2 cops are having.
Yeah.
One cop says, basically, who the fuck is doing all this? How is this possible? And the cop with the body cam on says, there's got to be multiple shooters because the guy in this room has been dead for a minute. Direct quote. This
Fuck.
guy has been dead for a minute.
Are these the 2 cops that start raiding his fridge?
Yeah. And there's a timestamp on that, too. Yeah. At 11:27 p.m., 2 of the cops in the raid open up the mini fridge and take all the Pringles and bottled water. That's just fun.
I mean, that's a day you're going to be needing to be refueled for the job, I suppose.
That's just a fun little
That's
detail.
just a fun little tidbit.
So that is the events of that. I have 2 more facts. One, these 2 are kind of both open-ended with no response. They just add to the overall weirdness of the whole day. The money that was raised on GoFundMe by the city of Las Vegas for the victims and the funeral costs and just a general donation, to the cause.
Yeah.
None of that money was ever actually donated. It was all actually lost. And all of the money collected was never returned, and it was never actually donated to anything.
Are we really, surprised that literally the city of Vegas stole a lot of money?
Well, valid point. Valid point.
But it is fucking weird.
Now, this is where I will tell you this. There's one part of a fact here that I'm going to say. Stephen Paddock, as a man, in liquid cash, was worth well over $1 million. There's no that is an actual fact. There's no denying that he was worth over $1 million.
Yeah, I think in an interview, his brother put it at $2 million.
Yeah.
His net worth.
This dude had some cash, and he liked to gamble. So this is where the facts end. I'm going to tell you what I think happened and why. Okay?
And before we go any further, I do want to say that just because we are presenting a story that is presented to the public, and then also all these things to contradict it, it does not minimize the people that were affected by it. Like the victims.
I mean, people still fucking died.
Yeah, the people that died, their families, all the people that were injured and their families, we're not trying to diminish any experience that you had.
No, yeah, like they got fucked up.
Okay,
There's
like
no
that's
denying.
we're just looking at it because this is fucking weird. All
No,
right?
it is weird.
It's fucking weird. But
And
I just felt the need to say that.
Hey, I respect it. I completely respect it. Here's where my opinion lies, okay? It was brought to the point in this video, and I happen to believe with her, Mindy Robinson. Now, keep in mind, if you want to watch this video,
a lot of right-leaning sorts of things.
Yeah, she is a very outspoken, like right-wing, pro-life enthusiast. But
pro-life. Does that come up in the video?
In the beginning, she just tells you about
weird.
her.
Okay.
But in no way does that diminish her credibility, only because, like I said, the reason I use this video as a source is because every single thing that she said was brought with facts. It was never just delivered to you as words and you had to take it.
Yeah.
There was something there that proved what she was saying. And she never said, she kind of did like what I did. Like, it was never like, well, they called the cops because it was this going on. It was just, they called the police. Like, why did they do that? You know what I mean?
And this is what was said. Here's the audio of it.
Yeah.
Let's look at this.
So it's very just in your face, brutally honest. You don't have to like what she believes in. I don't fucking care what you like. But what she delivers to the table is extremely, extremely interesting and factual.
Yeah.
And what she said that makes a lot of sense to me is that Stephen Paddock was probably an illegal gun runner. This would explain why he had so many unmodified illegal weapons in his room. Because it's like the showroom floor. You know, you got to show your products.
And he's got a lot of like little accessories, the bump stocks, the scopes. He's got all that stuff. A lot of magazines, high octane magazines.
The one very important piece that he had was tracer rounds. And what's interesting about that is I'm not super familiar with what they are. But they're the bullets that, you know, they really go boom, like they're like shill bullets.
When they're shot off, there's actually like I don't know what chemical it is, but there's a chemical that trails behind it that creates sparks.
Yeah, they look fun.
Mitch said they're fun for nighttime.
They're really good for like a YouTube video, like if you're going to show people your new gun.
Yeah, like what
is
it? Something SPF Russia?
Yeah, something like that. So he had a lot of tracer rounds as well that were not used in the shooting.
Mitch has something to say.
Mitch, where are you tapping in here?
Finish what you're going to say, but I have something to add to it.
Okay, so this is everything he has. And the reason that he may or may not, well, he was a big gambler, but the reason could have possibly been, in my opinion, and her opinion as well, he was using the funding that he got from illegal gun running and laundering that money through gambling. And the reason that is to be believed is because in September of 2017, Stephen Paddock paid up all of his taxes on his gambling winnings for that year. So why would a man who's planning on offing himself and hundreds of people pay his taxes? What would be the point of that?
To launder money, of course.
Everything that he needed, the money he wired to his wife, you know, anything he had, it might have been seized, but you couldn't seize other things in other countries.
Yeah.
And he was going to be dead. So the idea that he paid his taxes makes little to no sense as far as this whole story goes. Mitch, what do you got?
I was just going to add in the how you said that he's probably like an illegal gun dealer or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Like it kind of, like that point kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, you said he had the tracer rounds. And you also mentioned the tannerite. So maybe if like he was selling those weapons, like he'd let whoever was buying them, you know, test them out, and using tracer rounds is fun, and also tannerite, which is you know,
the big boom ones.
Yeah, which is you need something to shoot, and tannerite would be the most fun thing to shoot, especially if you're trying to sell these weapons. You know, it could add something to the effect.
Exactly.
If a salesman literally gave me a product that he was like, you can blow some shit up with this, I would buy it immediately.
Yeah.
I would have bought a gun off Stephen Paddock.
Now, this dude, I don't know. I did not have time to do a lot of illegal gun trade research, but I would go out on a limb and say that the variety of weapons that he had in his room, some scoped, some not, some had the bipods on it, some didn't.
He had like a Ruger fucking bolt action. Like,
right.
What was he going to use that for, and what they say he did?
Yeah, some had bump stocks, some did not. So the way to put this is that some were dressed and some were just generic weapons.
Stock, yeah.
And that is something that I would imagine you would see in a gun show. Like, you know, very fancy, high-grade weapons and very just standard weapons that you could do what you want with.
Yeah, bells and whistles, and then just if you want to go plain Jane, you know, you do it.
Exactly. So that is where my opinion on Stephen Paddock goes. That doesn't answer the question as to what the fuck was all this for.
Yeah. So the motive, a lot of people, there's so many different, like, options, a lot of different takes.
Oh,
okay? Yeah. But what you mentioned earlier, and what I kind of agree with, but found a little bit of a snafu in there, is that this was something like a false flag operation got carried out by the government to maybe do something in line with what happened in Australia with their mass shooting problem. And after that one big mass shooting, all guns were taken away. I feel like I agree with you in saying that that was probably what the government was trying to do here. But also, I don't know, man. Like, there's way too many like factors that like the police have reports that differ from like things that just employees of casinos were told to do. Like, it feels like they had the wrong people in on this for that to be an effective thing. You
Oh,
know,
I agree.
and if it's something of this magnitude, I feel like they would dot their I's, cross their T's.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's
Like,
why I'm not certain that that's what it was.
it does seem like the most feasible, logical thing.
I have 3 opinions, and I think that they can all kind of work together. And if I'm correct, I'm not saying I am. If I'm correct, I think that this is the route that they were going. I don't necessarily think in entirety that they were trying to ban guns like Australia has done.
Maybe just button it up a little bit.
Yeah, very much button it up.
Very much.
Tighten it up, make sure everything's like, I's are dotted and T's are crossed, all that shit. I think that was a factor. I think another factor was security, because there are, in the video, it was a little confusing, and I didn't dig into it too much because I had already done a lot of digging on the actual conspiracy. But there were security companies that made significant amount of money from this event, because immediately after, like I'm talking within a week of this happening, casinos were in talks with very high-tech security companies to have X-ray-like machines that would scan everybody coming in, out of the building, in, out of the hotel, in, out of restaurants, shops, everything. It would be a damn near $1 trillion investment for the Vegas Strip
Yeah, I'd say.
to add these extra measures of security. And I think that they really, really could have done that if they played it up more. But this is where they dropped the ball. Because I don't know if you guys know this or not. I mean, we lived through it, but I don't know if you paid attention to it, because I certainly didn't. This story lasted less than 72 hours on the news cycle.
And then it just completely disappeared, just all the way on the back burner.
By October 4th, there was not one major news outlet that was reporting any new information on the Vegas shootings. And don't come after me and say they reported on it. No, they talked about like the funerals and the memorials and the things like that. And Vegas did, like the hour of darkness where they turned everything off and like silently, had their moment and whatever.
But the investigation side of this all was all but gone.
Exactly. The actual investigative reporting on what happened in Vegas was done by October 4th of 2017.
Yeah, and it was crazy how the police chief, it just seemed like he was like just so nervous because there's this amount of pressure that was on him to try to cover up all of the things that happened. Just like the only thing that was, really, talked about was the shooting itself, not all these weird, people seeing, gunmen and bullets and hearing gunshots in different places, on the strip. And the cops just made it, they look incompetent.
Oh yeah.
When you look at all these, it's beyond incompetency. It's a cover-up.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, very much seems that way. There was one of the first responding officers was actually interviewed, and when he was described, like that quote I mentioned earlier about, he's like, we were tripping on guns, like it was crazy. Mm-hmm. I watched that. He's literally smiling. He's literally like
grinning.
smirking because of what he's saying. Like he's saying things and then beginning to smirk. He's like, yeah, he was just like on the floor. We didn't check him. Like we were tripping on guns. It was crazy. We had Pringles. He didn't say that, but they did that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. All these cops just seem, at least all the cops that I saw footage of that had to do with it after the fact, seemed a bit joyous about it. Like it's weird.
Yeah. And here's the big important thing, or I guess I didn't finish my third thing. My third thing would be agreeing with the 4chan post of it simply being a false flag operation. It just didn't, but this one doesn't really make a lot of sense to me as much. There's no end game in that. It's simply just a message of no matter what you think is safe is no longer safe. Like there's no safety anymore.
I mean, safety's always been an illusion, but to bring it to the forefront with such a chaotic event that you put into play, it's insane.
And here's my official cumulative report of what I think actually happened and why.
Okay.
I think that this was a false flag operation for America to extremely alter their gun laws, possibly even get a good amount of people to support banning guns as a whole, and that movement could start early and last for a while and maybe get the results eventually.
Yeah.
But I think that it was botched so horribly.
No, very much so.
And there were so many things that didn't make sense. The information that we shared with you today in the last 90 minutes is all information that it's very hard to find, but it's out there. And
it's out there.
People have it saved. It's official footage. It's real things that can be connected to that night.
Yeah.
And I think if they tried to push it because of this, that would open the door to answer questions. Think of 9/11. 9/11 has a lot of loose ends, but it was big enough and national enough, and it made sense at the time to where people didn't bother to question it. And it was, nowadays you can just sweep it under the rug. It's over. It's gone. It's done.
Yeah.
But when that happened, that's one of those things that you move very swiftly on. If that was what their goal was, by the next year they would have wanted guns banned.
That is true.
But I think that it was fucked up so badly. So many loose ends, so many unanswered questions, things that make absolutely zero sense, that if anybody even asked a question about it, it would open the door to actually see what the end result plan was.
Yeah,
and that would have fucked over everybody.
Very much so. A person in the right, seat of power.
Oh, yeah.
Asking that question, it would be...
You'd be done for.
It would be fucking...
Everything would be dismantled.
All out there. Yeah, nothing would make sense.
And then that would add legitimacy to older things. Like I said, 9/11, that would come back up. People would start asking questions.
People start questioning
about
everything. If one thing, it's a domino effect.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree. And like another thing like that kind of supports the point you're making is, they want guns to look so bad and deadly, which they are, but that they're going to pin all these dudes shooting everyone all around Las Vegas on one single man.
Oh, yeah.
There's like, this is what guns can do. So they want us to think,
And I think that's why not only did nothing ever come of it, but I think that's why it was never investigated further or talked about in that light anymore. Because it's too fragile. You can't open that up. You're gonna lead the way for so many things to go wrong that you can't possibly talk about that anymore.
That's true.
It's done. And I think that, to be honest with you, I think they kind of got the message, because after that happened, I'm not saying that shootings are gone. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that mass shootings don't still happen.
They do.
But the numbers and the news coverage of them has incredibly decreased since that event.
Dwindled very much so. Dude, there was, I'm pretty sure we brought this up on the show. There used to be like school shootings, just at random shootings at all, every week for like a long period of time. And this happened, and it's just kind of all, it hasn't stopped, but it's at least slowed down, and it's very much so not being covered as much.
Oh, yeah, you don't hear about that shit anywhere. And it's just weird. It's just weird. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. I'm not entirely sure why, but it definitely it's I can't even tell you. It's fucking weird.
I think like this one clearly seems like a cover up and a false flag, but if there were a bunch of false flags to try to get rid of guns, it's like you said. Like, I think they got the picture that you're not going to get rid of people's guns. Like, this is America. Like, there's no chance in hell, and that's probably why we don't hear about those things on the news anymore. Because it's like it's a losing battle. Like, you are going to lose if you're trying to take away guns.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to kill the king, but they didn't kill the king, and that's what you're not supposed to do, is not kill the king when you're trying to kill him.
And here's my final thought. Not being political, not trying to ruffle any feathers. I just want to state a simple idea. You can tell me I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. I'm not sure.
Email us at startacult@gmail.com.
I want you guys to be honest with me if my comparison, it may or may not be correct from an American standpoint. I know foreign countries are different. They view things much differently than we do here.
Very foreign.
Now, a gun in no way, shape, or form would I argue that it isn't a deadly weapon? Because it is. That's its definition.
That's generally its only use.
However, there are a lot of things that are used in day-to-day life that are considered deadly weapons.
Knives, frying pans.
Knives, frying pans, cars, buses,
You
semi-trucks.
swallow a feather weird, you're going to die.
These are all deadly weapons that, in the right circumstances and used for the right purposes, are very important necessities of day-to-day life. I'm not saying that a gun is necessary for life. I'm just saying, if you couldn't tell, I'm pretty down with guns. Like, I'm cool with guns.
I don't
have
care
no
about
issue
guns.
with it.
I mean, I feel like the biggest problem that people have with guns and the use of them is the fact, because anything can kill you, like we said. Like, you can use anything to kill anyone.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just the effectiveness of guns. It's like, it's their sole purpose is basically to shoot them, and if you're not shooting them at a person, you're shooting them at a target, practicing for if you need to.
Yep.
And it can be done so quickly.
Oh, yeah. I want to say this before we sign off here. I got one thing about this and one thing about another thing.
Here, wait a minute. I did want to mention that, what is it, Al-Qaeda? It was either Al-Qaeda or ISIS. I'm pretty sure there was a terrorist group that took credit for this shooting.
It was ISIS.
It was ISIS. ISIS was just like, that was totally fucking us. They said Stephen Paddock converted to Islam like 6 months prior. Weird.
With no proof.
With no proof. There's no proof, but that's their game. It's terror. I don't know if they said that, Mitch. The internet's a crazy place.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
At Taliban _ fuck you.
I will say this. I think I can officially say this. This is my opinion again.
I don't think Paddock did it.
No, he did.
He did. That's understood at this point.
But no, I was about to say, I honestly have to say, if you guys are listening up till this point of the episode, this may be the best episode we've done yet.
No, I like it a lot. The Ruby Ridge one was up there, but this trumps it.
This is quite literally the reason the show was made, to talk about conspiracies in a different way and add some opinion to it.
Yeah, now I'm about to go out to my car and be strangled by piano wire, I'm sure.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
But also, I do want to throw this in there. I do apologize for the Patreon listeners.
Yeah.
The episode that would have been published yesterday, I was busy and not home until late in the evening.
We're sorry, y'all.
So we did not get a chance to do that, but we will be publishing that on Monday.
Yeah, we'll do an extra long one.
Yeah.
Not quite this long. This is a long ass episode. I love it. I like doing this, man. We should make longer episodes.
I think these
no longer than 2. But
you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you guys this now.
What's with the parts? Why do we keep breaking it into parts?
This is a very loosely based series that is gonna last us for quite a while. I think
at least a month.
And it's gonna be for those like Kevin Smith fans out there. You know, the director,
the guy with the big clothes.
Yeah, like the View Askew universe. Think of that as our episode. It's a bunch of movies that are like similar in certain ways, but they're their own separate movies.
This is our ABCs of Death of a podcast
series.
This
is our series that is going to be very loosely connected by the idea of false flag operations and mass murdering events.
Conceptual.
And it's all connected in the idea that there's more to the story than we actually know.
Yeah.
And it's going to go in a couple different avenues, but if you like this episode, you're going to get quite a few more of these because it's going to go into different directions from here on out.
Very much so. And I will just throw out there, because we haven't really considered this, but I feel like we might need it. There may or may not be a little break episode in between, at least one or two of these.
I imagine so.
But, this is kind of the pool we're swimming in for at least a month here. Yeah. Probably going to go longer, honestly.
So yeah, we're kind of angling into something new here. And the idea is, instead of such a regimented, like, part 1, part 2, break, part 1, part 2, or just part 1, empty, over, it's sort of think of this as a basket. We're weaving this shit together into one grand thing that all connects into one idea, and that being that whether it be the government or the major news outlets in the country are not telling the true facts of the story.
Probably both. Yeah, so we're putting all our eggs in this one basket, and that's generally not what people say to do, but in this analogy, it's good.
Yeah, and it's coming at you
Okay.
hot. So
Yeah, hot, steaming basket of eggs.
we do love you guys. I apologize for the Patreon. That will be up on Monday, before 6 p.m. on Monday.
It will. We love
So-
you, patrons. There's a link below for that, by the way. You can get a shirt.
Oh yeah, you'll have a hot new episode to start your week. We'll probably talk. Honestly, we'll probably have some more to say about this.
Yeah, we'll mention it, probably complain about work or something.
There's
Navi
a
will be here.
Believe it or not, there's actually a whole other theory that I completely took off of my research about the connections to a Saudi royal that was in Vegas during the events of the shooting.
What's with people in Saudi Arabia being involved in massive, terrible things that happen in America?
And I took it out because it didn't really
9/11,
fit the
this.
timeline that I wanted to cover for this. So depending on if I have the drive to actually look more into that, either way, I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, why not?
But we'll get some more on this. We'll tell you a little bit what's going on in just life and have some fun with you.
We'll figure it out, and we'll all do it together because we are starting a cult, and you're a cult member. You listening?
Yes, you are.
All right, and yeah, just like Shawnee. So anyway, yeah, that was a fucking crazy episode. I'm very glad we did that.
No, it
This-
worked out. It was beautiful.
It was great.
You guys, I hope you like it.
again-
we wanted to try something new, see if the fans react to it. So let us know
Yeah.
what you think.
Who knows? Might be taken down. Maybe we're gonna die.
Yeah, you never
But
know.
in the meantime, you can follow us on all the stuff. You got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm back into Twitter. I mentioned it earlier.
There we go.
And yeah, we're on YouTube. You can like and subscribe, comment there, give us some suggestions. They're all on a list. You know that. I say that a lot. And then startacold@gmail.com, and there's a Patreon link below. We got bi-weekly episodes. And if you want a shirt, you just tell us you want a shirt if you're a patron, and we'll give it to you.
Fucking A, we will.
We'll give it to you, and we'll probably work on the PTO box. I know we've
PTO box.
the PO box. I'm thinking paid time off. I really need that. But
I need that shit too.
no, the
I have-
PO box.
Guys, I work for the fucking state of Indiana, and I have to work on a Saturday. Is that some nonsense or what? I'm outraged.
I work every Saturday, but that's just because I'm in the service industry.
Yeah, that does suck, but it's like that makes sense. You know?
Yeah, no, it makes
I'm
a lot
working
of
like
sense.
a 9 to 5 office gig, and they're like, "You got to come in at 8 on Saturday." I'm like,
And leave at noon.
Oh.
like, what is that? But yeah, we're gonna work on a PO box. I know that was an empty promise in the past, but maybe we'll try to make it right here in the future.
yes, it will. We're trying to ramp up some changes to the show.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get a TikTok,
Ooh,
and it's going to be the show's TikTok.
I'm cool with that.
Okay, so if that's cool, yeah, I'm just presenting this now
I
to
have
you. Is
one.
that cool?
I have one. I wanted to start doing it, but just know you guys know me. I'm a bit of a troll when it comes to things,
You aren't very nice on the internet.
and I'm not rude. I'm just very
No, you
obstinate.
you just know how to elicit stupid people into saying things that make them angry, and then you laugh. So ha ha
yeah,
ha.
and
You
I'm
know,
not
it's
proud
it's good.
of it. I'm not proud of it.
I'm proud of you for doing it. I like it,
but
but
I don't want to connect the podcast to that, and then some comment argument thread that I'm in gets tagged to that, and it's like, well, this guy's a dick. Fuck this shit. I don't want to be a part of that. So
no, yeah.
well, we'll both fuck around. Maybe we'll make some videos or something. I don't know. We'll see what we do with
There'll
it.
probably be a
but
lot of footage in Navi and maybe my dog Gus and
talk time.
I don't know, maybe the place, the room we're in that's dark where we're doing our research. Who knows?
It'll be Tick Dog.
There will be a little.
I'll actually have to clean my
funny
desk so
bits.
it doesn't look monstrous.
Oh, it does look good.
No, it really doesn't.
It looks good, man. What's wrong with this?
It's just fucking a bunch of wires and fucking garbage and papers.
There's a
I've
Zen
thrown out.
garden. There's a Coke bottle. There's 2 lamps.
Yeah, there's an old 1993 Army of Darkness thing on the desk.
Cigar cutter. There's
Moose
is that
lamps.
a popcorn award? What the hell is that?
I know something from work. I don't know.
It's
We
just
got-
a picture of popcorn with your name on it.
We had a big King Tut puzzle up on the wall.
Yeah, there's a light without a bulb in it. There's
Yeah.
a wire hanging from that.
It'll be fine. You guys will see where we do the show.
Yeah, you'll see what the studio is.
I'll have to vacuum.
Yeah. Oh, that means I have to vacuum, you bitch.
That's true.
All right. Anyway, yeah, that was our episode for the week. We are starting a cult. That's Grant. I'm Jake. Mitch was here.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.